So we exist throughout time. So every single moment that we exist on is being experienced. Now it's, in a sense, being experienced forever, because it's always, this moment is always there and it's always being experienced, and it always feels like moments have just happened before that moment. So it's kind of forever being experienced. But it's also kind of not at all being experienced, because it's 0D. It has no length or width. It's kind of, it measures as 0. But then it's being experienced forever. So in a sense, we don't experience anything, but then we all, for any amount of time, but then we also experience it for an infinite amount of time. So we kind of experience and simultaneously don't experience. That might be a bit mental. I can't tell if that makes sense. So a few other things, right? Gravity, right? Why does gravity exist? Well, I think space and time came first, kind of. First is kind of funny with time. Well, it's funny to me, it's probably... Anyway, so they exist, and then it's kind of like displacement. So you get to, let's say this, a big lump of matter, right? And you put that in space and time, and it sort of displaces the space and time and creates a more dense amount of space and time around it. And the closer you are to this bit of matter or energy within space-time, the more dense the space-time is, and the further you get away, the less dense it is. But you never get to a point where you're so far away in space, or I suppose in time, that it's never not dense as it originally was. I can't tell that double negative or whatever made sense. But you never get to a point where it's not, it's the density of normal. You could go trillions of miles. Well, I suppose you'd have gravitational waves in it, but that's why it's displacement. That's why gravity exists. Displacement, matter displacing space-time, because matter or energy or stuff came after space-time. Dark matter, right? I think dark matter could be consciousness. Because, you know, currently dark matter is passing through us right now, and maybe this is what makes things experience. If that's the case, which I kind of doubt, but if that's the case, then I just detected dark matter. Because I'm pretty sure that the maths suggests that dark matter is detectable. But no machine that we've created has so far detected it. Maybe that detection is going, I'm experiencing consciousness, which is dark matter. And so I have just detected dark matter. Maybe. Perhaps. Who knows? String theory requires more dimensions other than 3. I don't know how many dimensions it needs, but it needs more than 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. Have my extra dimensions solved string theory? Who knows? So this is sort of my religion, kind of. I've created a religion based on a plausible explanation of how something came from nothing, which I believe is the first plausible explanation. It's not necessarily true, it doesn't mean it's true, but I'm kind of convinced that it's true, despite the fact that I know it's not there's not necessarily a good reason to believe it's true. I'm just kind of convinced it's true, much like religious people are, whether they admit that or not. So this is my kind of religion of universes splitting from 0 and then having dimensions of space and time and then matter existing it and then all that being experienced. So I should probably give a quick thing on the afterlife. So let's just bring it down. Let's bring down the dimensions. Let's bring it to 1D time, just to make it simple. So we have not living, we have birth, we have death. And this is the life. This is a segment of life in this one-dimensional bit of time. So here a brain is being experienced, and then this bit, a brain isn't being experienced. But there's a bit of consciousness throughout the brain, which then is no longer within the brain, but it's still a bit of consciousness. So, yeah. But to be fair, what I think is happening is you have a brain here, and then you have consciousness passing through it. And so currently you're kind of dead, and then suddenly you're now not dead. You're experiencing the brain, which is now thinking, I've just experienced all of my life, and you can remember back years and years and years. And then this bit of consciousness goes away. So you constantly are forever, you know, if you experience a moment, then that bit of consciousness that was experiencing that moment now is experiencing somewhere else in the universe. And so you're kind of constantly dying. Every second you're dying. You're dead. Every zero, well, I don't know how big a shard of consciousness is passing through a brain. Maybe there's a giant object of consciousness passing through many brains, and then you just, once it's done passing through that brain, and that's kind of it. I don't know if that cleared up an afterlife or not. It's kind of the most unintuitive thing, that consciousness time thing. It's kind of an illusion. Which is really unintuitive to a brain that's evolved. Because it's just the way that the brain has evolved. It's evolved to constantly go around and rely off what just happened to then not die in the future. And so, kind of dismissing that to make sense of consciousness creates this really unintuitive thing. But if you want to see the truth, then you must look at the universe without the human filter of intuition. If anything's intuitive, like, that's just the case, that's just true, then you should question. No, doesn't matter if you know. Yeah. Now I can't tell if I'm completely insane, so I just kind of wanted to put out all my ideas so that people can go, okay, you're not insane, at the least. So that's, yeah.